Boom, okay, here we go. Something that was very influential to me. Growing up, early 1990s, this is a movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, before he became the big boy that he became, and it was Kickboxer. Now, Kickboxer, the first time in a movie, the first time I think as a kid that I ever saw Muay Thai kickboxing, Thai boxing. The first time that I'd seen a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Now, what was I? I was in primary school. I was in grade 4. There was a kid that was in grade 3. He had a black and white photocopy of the Kickboxer video case. So I guess he'd copied it, and he needed to have a black and white photocopy of the video case. And I said, who's that guy? Jean-Claude Van Damme. I didn't even know it was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he's like, this is Jean-Claude Van Damme. This is a movie called Kickboxer. Kickboxer, okay. Went down to the video store. There it was, in all its glory, in all its VHS glory. And sure enough, yeah, my dad took me down there. My dad borrowed it for me. We watched Kickboxer. Tong Po, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Kurt Sloan. Man, this movie changed my life. You know, I was a young impressionable kid. It's not Shakespeare by any means, you know. It's a martial arts classic. So, yeah, Kickboxer. I think the next film that I watched was Bloodsport. Again, another all-time classic martial arts movie, Bloodsport. I think I liked Bloodsport more than Kickboxer, but Kickboxer stays in my mind more in terms of it was the first Jean-Claude Van Damme film that I've seen. I think a couple of years later, not too long after Kickboxer 1, a movie by the name of Kickboxer 2 came out, starring Sasha Mitchell, who was in that show Step by Step. A lot of people did not like this movie because Jean-Claude Van Damme wasn't in it. Michel Qissi as well, playing Tong Po in that first Kickboxer film. I forgot to mention his name. He's very influential. If you watch any interviews with Michel, or they call him Michel, you watch any interviews with him, he's very influential on Jean-Claude Van Damme's career. Jean-Claude doesn't speak about him all that much, but I don't think there's any bad blood between the two guys. If it wasn't for Michel Qissi, you wouldn't have Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, Jean-Claude wouldn't have become the star that he became. Well, that's the impression that I get anyway. Back to Kickboxer 2. Kickboxer 2 takes off right after Kickboxer 1, and it's one of those typical scenarios where they kill off all the main characters from the last film, or most of them, and then start a new story. What is good about Kickboxer 2, and why I like Kickboxer 2 so much, you got the return of Tong Po, right? David Sloan, being Kurt Sloan's brother that we don't find out about until this movie, takes over the mantle, takes over the star role. There's a showdown between David and Tong Po towards the end of the film, and there's just this build up to this showdown that I think is so beautiful. I don't know what it is. It's just such a great climax. And they beat the crap out of each other at the end of the film, right? And now I think Michel Qissi is also stunt doubled at points with Jacoby, who was from No Retreat, No Surrender. I found that out in a recent interview. I never knew that before. Yet the whole fight scene at the end, but people didn't like it because it wasn't Jean-Claude Van Damme. There wasn't that whole scissor kick sort of stuff going on. But this fight is so brutal. You know, by the end of it, they're bleeding. They beat the crap out of each other. It's all slow motion too. There's all this slow motion. Just beat. It's a great film. Kickboxer 2, another movie that I just love. Mortal Kombat from 1995. I'm talking about the original Mortal Kombat movie. At the time when it came out, it was one of the most accurate video game to movie translations that you could find in a movie. And it still holds up to this day. Now, there are things in it that probably don't hold up because they're very 1990s. I went to go and see it on school holidays with my mother in the cinemas in the city. It was a quiet sort of theatre, there was nobody around. We went in there and we enjoyed this film, I always got my mother into the same stuff that I liked, so she liked, whether she liked it or not, she was into Mortal Kombat now. And we watched Mortal Kombat, and this movie was great. Now, what made this movie so great was, and I think a bit groundbreaking for an American martial arts movie at this point in time, was the aspects of the Hong Kong choreography that was in the movie. The soundtrack, which was made up of, you had dance music with Hong Kong choreography. This predated Blade, the Vampire Hunter with Wesley Snipes. This was one of the first films that I saw that had this vibe to it. There's a vibe to the movie that we didn't see before in Hong Kong, in American martial arts movies. Hong Kong martial arts aspects in this film, science fiction elements in it, and it was based on Mortal Kombat. So, Robin Shou, Lyndon Ashby, Chris Casamassa playing Scorpion, Keith Cook playing Reptile. the killer soundtrack score, which was by George S. Clinton. George S. Clinton, what else was he known for? American Ninja 2, the soundtrack to that film. That soundtrack kicked ass. So rewatching it recently, now that new Mortal Kombat film has come out, and a few other Mortal Kombat related stuff, this movie still holds up for me. I think it's still a great movie. The fight choreography is still bone smashing, you know? Great film. I hope it doesn't become underrated now with the new movie that's out. Okay, here's one of the big ones. One of the big ones for me. Directed by Yeun Kwai. 1984, 85? I don't know. No Retreat, No Surrender. Starring Kurt McKinney and a young Jean-Claude Van Damme as the bad guy. Man, No Retreat, No Surrender. This movie, for me, when I first watched it, it was brand new on TV. There was a commercial, we were watching something else, and it says, after the break, at 8:30, No Retreat, No Surrender. So I got my dad to record it for me, and I watched it the next day, because bedtime, I guess, when you're young. No Retreat, No Surrender. Man, I've never seen a movie with choreography like this before, and again, choreography was by Yeun Kwai, coming straight from Hong Kong. It was a Hong Kong/US production, so I've never seen a movie like this before. I'd never seen a wooden dummy before, a mukjong. I'd never seen a mukjong before in a movie. I'd never seen so many things until I'd seen this movie. And this stayed one of my all-time favourite martial arts movies until I became an adult, and I was still watching this stuff, I think when I bought the last of the VHS copies when VHS was going out of this film, I converted it to VCD, I converted it to DVD. It came out on DVD on my birthday. Man, I still enjoy watching this film to this day. The soundtrack to it, again, there were two versions of this film, two cuts. There was a UK version, a European version, and there was the version that everybody else got. The version that everybody else got was the one that I'd seen since I was a kid, so it had a very digital sort of soundtrack to it. It was, again, very Beverly Hills Cop style sort of stuff. You had your Rocky montages going on in the film, you had your Rocky sort of soundtrack song to it, Hold On to That Vision. Sounded like it was sung by Journey, where it actually was sang by Chalfant, what was his name? Kevin Chalfant, who ironically did a whole bunch of Steve Perry Journey songs later on in his career. Joe Satriani plays guitar on the main song as well. Joe Satriani, he's one of the big boys, guitar-wise. Cool, man. It is a cheesy movie, but that adds to the charm of the film. I remember the Internet Movie Database, when that came out. Anything that was trivia related was submitted by me, pretty much. But early 2000s, I don't know about now, because your Internet Movie Database sucks balls now. Yeah, this was before IMDb deleted the news group, so you were able to talk about a movie with other people that liked the movie. You could ask a question or something like that. The guy that played Scott, the bully, the chubby bully in the film, who's passed away now, he was unwell at the time. He started interacting on these forums. Kent Liffam was his name. And he was interacting with fans, he was talking with people about stuff, and it was shortly after that he had passed away, unfortunately. Who else was in this movie? Dale Jacoby, big martial art, studied under Benny the Jet Urquidez. Peter Cunningham, big kickboxing champion. Tim Baker was a big competition fighter as well. Plays Jason's father in the film. Yeah, man, the trivia that I got into on this film back in the day, I love this film inside out, crazy. One of my all-time favorites. Up next, Ong Bak, starring Tony Jaa. Man, when I first saw this movie, when we martial arts fans and movie fans saw this movie, Tony Jaa, this guy, one of the best from Thailand, and this movie kicked ass. This movie was one of the all-time great martial arts movies, and it stays very true to the formula of these martial arts movies. Tony Jaa just blew me away when I first saw him. And he blew everybody else away as well. The next movie that came out after that, also another personal favourite of mine, Tom Yum Goong, also known as The Protector in America, where they edited it and they changed it and it wasn't the same. I'm talking about the Thai version. Tom Yum Goong, he comes down to they steal his elephant. Where's my elephant? Great film. Again, it's not Shakespeare. These are martial arts movies. If you're expecting Shakespeare, piss off, right? This movie, choreography, co-stars, everything about it. These two movies, Ong Bak and Tom Yum Goong, my two favourite Tony Jaa films. Just great movies. Check them out.